Oh, you're dizzy, all right. And daft too, if you ask me. Well, don't worry about feeling dizzy, Pug. Dry your eyes. The doctor's here today and he'll soon make you better. Come along. Now, don't be frightened, Punky. Just sit quietly and let me help you. I wonder. Now, just tell me, what pictures can you see on this poster? What pictures? I can't see anything. Try these. I still can't see any pictures. What about these? Oh, yes, a flower. A square. A sun. A house. A dog. Oh, well done, Puggy, and jolly good too. You see, there's nothing wrong with you, Puggy. You just need to wear glasses. But I don't want to wear glasses and be different. But you'll be the first one in the class ever to wear glasses. No one else has them. It'll make you look very elegant. Hey, you guys, glasses are wonderful. The height of fashion. How do I look? Oh, do you dig me, boys? Glasses are not things to play with, Hank. Not everyone can have them. Do you think I could? Yes, you may, Puggy. Glasses are for very special people. It's just not fair. Never mind, Hank. One day I might find something special about you, too. Oh, I really do think they suit me. So, everyone was happy in the end, especially Pug. He's not frightened of the doctor. He doesn't mix up aeroplanes with carrots anymore, and he's very proud of his new glasses. Bye-bye till next time.
Hello, I'm Dick, and here's Dodo, as usual. But there's nothing usual about the story I've got to tell you this morning. We've come to see some birds here in the Cotswold Wildlife Park, and they are very unusual. These are great Indian hornbills. Great, because they measure 4 feet from the tip of their beaks to the end of their tails. Indian, because they come from India. And hornbills, I suppose, because that great beak looks like a huge horn. And if carrying that about on your head wasn't enough to give you a headache, on top of it, there's an extra bit called a casque. Baby hornbills start out without a casque, but it gradually develops, like it's doing on that big baby over there. That big baby is the most extraordinary part of the story. But before I tell you about him or her, they're not sure which yet, the males have rather redder eyes, and his looks to be a bit red, so they think it's a boy. But just listen to this. When the mother's ready to lay her eggs, the father puts her in prison. Well, sort of. Great Indian hornbills are forest birds. So what they do is they find a nice big tree with a big hole in it, like that one over there, and then they bring great beakfuls of mud and dung and bits of food and all sorts of sticky stuff, and together they plaster it round the edges of the hole, gradually making it smaller. And when it's so small there's only just room for the female to pop in she goes, and the male keeps on bringing beakfuls of this squidgy mixture, and she helps him from the inside, and they make it smaller and smaller and smaller until there's only just a little slit that she can stick her beak through. Now the idea of this, of course, is to protect the hen bird from her enemies. It's really more of a fortress than a prison. All the time that she's sitting on the eggs, hatching them and rearing them. And all that time, she has to have food brought to her by the male. Not just for a few days either. That hen bird was walled up in that hole in the tree on March the 14th, and she didn't break out until May the 30th, 11 weeks. And in that time, she hatched out that great lump, he or she, whichever it is, 5 months old now. Well, what's so clever about that, you might think? A couple of funny-looking birds build a funny-looking nest and have a funny-looking child. Millions of birds are doing that sort of thing all over the world. Ah, well, that's just the point. Never before in the Western world have great Indian hornbills hatched out a chick. Here at the wildlife park, the hornbills have laid eggs before. In fact, twice they've hatched out chicks, but they didn't live. This great creature, he or she, whichever it is the first one to survive. Just imagine how thrilled the keeper must have been that morning, April the 23rd it was, when he heard the first faint cheeping. He didn't have to put his ear up to the hole. Before the hen bird was walled up, they'd put a microphone inside, one like you use for babies. And there was a little electric blanket in there too to keep the chick warm or buried under the peat and the sawdust. This is what he heard. So then they knew that at last everything was okay. As soon as they knew that the chick was hatched, they started giving the father bird masses of grasshoppery things, locusts and crickets and things like that, in amongst his other food. And he picked these out and took them to the mother and child. And then much later, when the mother bird actually broke through the mud plaster to get out, the chick filled it in again from the inside, only leaving just a little tiny hole big enough for his beak to get through. And both Mum and Dad fed him. And then at last, after 10 weeks, the chick itself broke out of the fortress. So there you are. I told you it was a very special story, the story of a great success. Dodo and I will see you again next week with some more animals, but we'll say goodbye now because I want you to have another listen to that magical moment in April.
Hello, I'm David. I was in the Navy, and this story I'm going to tell you is all about, well, Jack was a sailor. He'd spent many years at sea, and now he wanted to settle down. As he stepped ashore, all he possessed was a blue macaw and a seaman's bag. He entered the nearest tavern to quench his thirst. The landlord noticed the bulging bag and asked him what he had in it. "Gold and silver," screeched the blue macaw. "Take no notice of the bird," said Jack. "It's only a bag of wind." "A bag of wind," echoed the landlord, and he laughed loudly, for he'd heard many such sailors' tales. Now in the tavern there were many pairs of listening ears, and one pair belonged to a particularly mean and greedy man. He sidled up to where Jack was sitting and offered him a jug of ale. "That's a fine bulging bag you have," he said. "Could he be full of treasure?" "Diamonds and rubies," screeched the blue macaw. "Take no notice of the bird," said Jack. "It's only a bag of wind collected from the four corners of the earth." "But the earth has no corners, and I've never heard of any seaman collecting winds," said the greedy man. "If you choose to believe the blue macaw and think me a liar, then it's up to you," said Jack. "Oh, don't be offended," said the greedy man, who was now determined to find out what was in the bag. "Come back to my house and rest your bones." Jack accepted his invitation and soon found himself surrounded by every comfort. After a good night's sleep, he rose to a hearty breakfast served by the greedy man's downtrodden and overworked wife. While Jack spread marmalade thickly on his toast, the greedy man asked if he might just look inside the bag. "Oh no," said Jack, "the winds would escape, and besides, there's nothing to see." "Platinum and pearls!" screeched the blue macaw. The greedy man ground his teeth with impatience and asked Jack to stay another night. The following morning, while Jack was enjoying a breakfast of ham and eggs, The greedy man asked if he could just feel the weight of the bag of wind. "Oh no," said Jack, "that would be pointless, for there's nothing to feel." And he tucked the bag even further under the table. "Jade and sapphires!" screeched the blue macaw. The greedy man gave the blue macaw a hard look, but forced a thin smile and invited Jack to stay a third night. That night, as usual, Jack took the bag to bed with him and was soon asleep. The blue macaw perched on the end of the bed. The house fell silent. Suddenly, a stair squeaked, then a floorboard creaked. It was the greedy man creeping into Jack's bedroom. "Thief and murderer!" screamed the blue macaw. The greedy man was so startled he shot out of the room and down the stairs. Jack woke up, told the macaw to be quiet, and then turned over and dropped off to sleep again. The next morning, while Jack consumed his third kipper, the greedy man asked if he would exchange the bag of wind for a cow. "Oh no," said Jack, "for I'd have nowhere to keep her." The greedy man thought to himself that if it was only a bag of wind, Jack would readily take the cow. He was now convinced that the blue macaw spoke the truth, and the bag contained untold wealth. So after breakfast, he offered Jack his barn in which to keep the cow. "That's no good," said Jack. "What use is a barn to me without a house to live in myself?" "Take my house as well, then, if you must," said the greedy man, who was by now growing desperate. "Oh, but it's much too big for me to live in by myself," said Jack. "I'll stay and share it with you," said the greedy man's downtrodden and overworked wife, for she was tired of her husband's miserly ways. "Done," said Jack. The greedy man snatched the bag from him, tore at the string at the neck of the bag, and as he pulled it, there was a strange sound. At first a faint whistle, and then a whine, and then a roar, and then an even louder roar, as all the winds from the far-flung corners of the earth tried to get out of that bag. The greedy man was lifted off his feet, whirled round and around, over his house, over the hill, down the valley, and out over the sea, and was never seen again. Wow. And that's all from Rubber Dub Tub this week. Goodbye.
The four-wheel drives with 3 gears, plus unique stunt wheel for wheelie tricks. Original stoppers and construction stoppers from Action GT.
Be warned. Once the alien missile is launched, only the player quick enough with his deflector shield will survive. In Space Attack, only the quickest survive. Space Attack from Action GT.